All right, welcome back to the AAA podcast, the show that gives you access all areas to everything music, nightlife, and everything in between. My name's Lewis. Joining me, I've got Joel as usual, and we do have a very special guest who was described by the West Australian as being savage, slick, and hilarious.
I didn't even know I was in the West Australian.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, there was an article. It was probably from like last year, but still, it doesn't matter.
Still correct.
Yeah.
I haven't gone soft since then.
Craig QUARTERMAIN.
Thank you guys for having me. And sorry, Joel, because I think I called you Sean a few seconds ago. I went blank. I even think I wrote down Sean. But yeah,
you can call him Sean for the whole thing.
No, I have to forget people's names to their faces before I'll remember. It's an awful thing.
Wait, you have to forget?
Yeah. So prepare to be called something else before the end of the show.
So how are you? How you been?
I'm really well.
Yeah.
I'm coming down after a week.
Of heroin.
I'm not built like someone who takes heroin. No, just after 2 weeks at the Perth Comedy Festival, which is stressful and draining, but there's this weird. We're quite emotional as comedians because I've gone from the stress of doing it. Now I just want it back. Now that it's done.
Well, it's that tour come down. Everyone. I know that there's a lot of people. They'll go on a tour for anything, and then it's that kind of when it's happening, you're like. Yeah, and then as soon as it finished, you're like, oh.
And it's annoying too because it was only 3 dates over technically like 8 days.
Yeah. Here
in Perth, after doing a month tour in Queensland, and I've done the Edinburgh Fringe, which is a month of gigging 4 times a day, and that's proper.
Yeah.
And then to come back here and be exhausted, I feel like a bit of a pussy, to be honest. But home makes you comfortable, unfortunately.
And
makes you comfortable is what I meant to say.
It makes you comfortable.
Yeah, home makes you too comfortable. I'm slack, man. I'm going soft. Could be worse. I could be in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. I'm going to just keep shit canning that town until they sort their shit out.
Until you're blocked from going there.
Well, I very nearly did. After they have a gala at the comedy festival and all these eclectic, wide range of acts, and they like to brag about how diverse they are. First thing I said when I was on stage was like, I've got to acknowledge how diverse your lineups are because I had no idea how many different kinds of white people there were. And they didn't like that. So.
At a comedy festival, they couldn't take a joke.
Dude. And it's funny, man. There's someone that I probably can't mention that. But someone got sued over a joke. And but I can't go too deep into that.
Otherwise you'll get sued for...
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But we're in a weird time where, unfortunately, and especially in Australia's comedy industry, it's not run by funny people. It's run by lawyers and people with bloody marketing degrees. Those bags of shit. And if we actually left it to funny people, it would probably be better.
Yeah, well, that's... yeah.
Ideally. But I mean, I'm sure in your industry there's the same sort of thing. There's people who think they're talented and gifted and have ideas when they should really just be burnt at the stake. But
I feel like you're talking about someone specific when you're saying this stuff.
No, that's the best part about my art is that what I do love doing is when I finish a joke and watching people in the room think I'm talking about them when I've never met them. It's brilliant. Very fulfilling.
Now, because obviously you had the 2 dates, which was at the
Perth Regal, the Regal Theatre. Yep.
And then because those 2 were sold out, you then had to do another one at the Comedy Lounge.
Did one at the Comedy Lounge. It's the best club in Australia. Easy, like the sound.
The Comedy Lounge.
Yeah, man. You've got people. There's no such thing as a bad seat, even in the back.
It is very good.
Yeah, it's really well built. And
have you been there at all? I take you.
No, I haven't.
You never. See,
it does give the delusion to some acts that they're better than they are, which is funny.
It's a very because is it new? Like, is it
relatively new? About a year and a half.
Yeah, that's because I went there a little while ago, and it is very. It's a very clean, like. Not saying Regal's not, but
gotcha.
you know what I mean. Like you look at
mean.
Regal, and it's very. You know that's been used for a while.
Sure. Well, this place is. I get it. You got Happy Endings in Sydney, which is in the basement in King's Cross, and that does look like people have fucked in the aisles. Like it's caca. It's you know what I mean. And then, but it's a really brilliant club. Whereas this place is. I guess the difference is it's purpose built.
Yeah.
So it's just built for comedy. And like every great comedy club, the green room is a shithole. It's tiny, you can't do anything in it, but it is it's a great club, and I was very lucky to get that opportunity.
And did that one? I'm not too sure, but did that one sell out as well? Or
It didn't quite sell out, but
you had two other sold out.
For the level I'm at, to sell to 3/4 sell my added on encore show in a week, and then it nearly sold out, but just to have people turn up on their night to see me. Pretty cool, like especially for 4.5 years into the game. So.
Yeah, and I have to say your first show that night was insane. I was there, so it was a very because I'd seen you before, and we were discussing this off air.
Well, yeah, you said I didn't realize you'd seen my actual full hour. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, no, I'm very very proud of that show at the moment. Novelty Act, it's called. But yeah, man, that's cool because that was you came on the Friday.
The first one, which was on the Friday.
That was hot. That was a great show.
That was very because I kind of knew your comedy before that, and obviously we knew that this was planned, so I'd done some research as well. So, but to see the full hour and there was stuff in there that I hadn't seen or heard.
Well, good, hopefully good.
No, but you know what I mean. Like there was stuff there that I didn't expect to happen, and it would kind of caught me. Like the ending, I definitely didn't.
Great, no man, that's great feedback. I mean, that's what I was hoping for. But the funny thing about that is that my closer, which is the closing bit, which is supposed to be the thing you hang your hat on, I didn't have that written when I started doing the work in progress shows. Like when I started doing maybe 5 minutes before I went on stage, I got it, and I was like, this is it.
So it's
not for that show that you came to see.
Yeah.
By then I'd hardened it.
But is that 100? Like that's.
We can't discuss it without giving away too many details. But there is a lot of truth. Like there's a lot of my stuff I use news and facts and stuff because that shit's crazier than anything I could write.
Yeah.
And
but there is legitimate.
There is a lot of truth in it. Yes.
Okay. All right. We're not going to give it away, but I just
good.
Yeah. We'll just ruin your entire act.
Yeah, I'm half worried because they reckon there was a reviewer and I haven't seen anything yet. And what happens when you know there was a reviewer in the room and nothing's come out? Generally, they put something that your management or something doesn't want on the internet. So they're like, no, you got to take it down. I've seen that happen. I've seen reviewers give away the endings of Edinburgh shows and stuff. They're assholes.
That's crazy. Just before we go, did you want some more? Do you want to top up?
Sure. Can I please grab another glass of that wine that you got for me before the show?
I know that I'm getting myself into
No, this is great.
I'm getting myself into something I'll let you.
No. Now, I don't know if we can even drop the name, but Joel was actually quite concerned because he thought he was...
Lewis, sorry. You call him Sean, you call me Joel. But no.
I'm going to do this properly because I told you I'd forget, didn't I? I told you I'd forget. I did write it down, damn it. Look, it's already there. Lewis, but your name's wrong, Joel. Sorry. But anyway, look, I told you I'd have to get it wrong. But... what was great was that you were considerate enough to actually put in the effort to go find me a wine. Then you got apprehensive because it had an Aboriginal themed design on it that I would get funny about it. That's just precious. It's so good. Do you actually have any Indigenous friends? I already know the answer, so that's fine. But
all I'm saying is that when I picked up that bottle, it didn't have the Aboriginal art on it. I could only see one side of it, and it said winemaker of 2018. So I'm going, sick, cool. And because you specifically wanted WA, and then I turned it over, and as I picked up the bottle, I went,
That's so good. No, look, honestly, it was, that was very, very sweet of you, and thank you. And
I knew as soon as I bought it that something I was going to...
If you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have said anything. If you had actually said that it made you apprehensive, I wouldn't have even noticed.
I mean, it didn't make me apprehensive. I just knew that there was going to be something that came out of me buying the one bottle that was there.
Not until you felt like you needed to confess it. I honestly wouldn't have. I've seen the Madfish label quite a few times. What does bother me was when people actually try to connect. People want to come up and be like, same. That sort of shit. Just don't patronize me. That's when we get off on the wrong foot. But yeah, no, there's no danger there. But it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
This is a metaphor. This is a complete metaphor for where we are in Australia.
yeah,
The reason that my stuff's doing well, and the reason I'm getting some attention, because there is this, and I mentioned it in my show, but there's this caricature or a mental picture of what an Indigenous Australian is meant to be, and I'm not it. I'm nowhere near it, and that's why. There's this weird thing too. I don't know if you noticed it when you saw me on stage, but people shut up when I'm on stage. They don't talk. They don't muck around. People really pay attention. I don't know why. I don't know where this gravitas comes from. Why I'm granted it, but I'm going to run with it.
And have you had many hecklers? Like, because I don't feel like
yeah. But I mean, in Edinburgh, it's different. It isn't. It's just different.
But I guess here, like someone like
hecklers from here.
Yeah,
not so much drunk people that'll. The thing is, dealing with drunk people, all you have to do is just repeat what they said. They'll be like, show us your tits. And you're like, show us your tits. You say, you mocked it, and that's it. That's done.
Yeah.
There was nothing clever about it. The closest thing here is when people laugh for the wrong reason. So I've got a few bad words in my show, and I make... My game is to basically make you think you're thinking something and then flip it on you. And the amount of people who feel like I am criticizing a minority or criticizing a group of people, and they get behind me. They're like, yeah, we should totally kick those people in the head. And I was like, you're not paying attention. Then whack. Yeah, that's my game. That's the closest thing I get to a heckle in Australia.
And I guess they can't really heckle. Like your act isn't something that, like, if they say something, if they heckle, like, it's not exactly the I don't even know if the word like politically correct or like you know what I'm like in saying that if someone heckles you back, whether that's classed even as a heckle or whether they're making.
It depends. It really does depend because all right. So the best way I can describe a heckle, it's like a Facebook comment.
Yeah.
How many of those actually have any weight to it? All any comment is or any heckle ever is what about me? That's all any of those are. So if you give it weight, if you pay attention to it, you get too wound up. I've got friends who, because there's all those viral videos on YouTube, or a comedian takes down heckler and all that shit, and people want to become famous for it. I never wanted that, but I've got friends that become very, very easily distracted by heckles.
Yeah.
And it ruins the show. It ruins your flow. That person's got nothing on you. You're already armed and ready. You can defend yourself with words. That person's drunk. And the more you entertain it, you're just wasting your time on stage.
Or you lose your show.
I can see a few people get distracted. It is also too, not everyone's up for confrontation, whereas I get, like, it's like a superpower for me. I love that shit. But, I'm not going to be scared of anybody on stage.
But I felt as well, like, your show, like, when I was sitting there, it wasn't like... a lot of like sometimes you'll see a comedian and if you're in the first couple of rows, you have that kind of feeling that, they're going to come and like they're going to rip you or something.
There were a few people worried about that. I was backstage behind a curtain listening to the crowd come in, and there were quite a few people saying, I don't want to get picked on. And I was like, who does that? You paid money to come and see me. Who's just going to start on the crowd? I can't get my head around. I know people do it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand that. Whereas my thing is, I'd like to think I come across as being, I'm glad you're there. There is no logical reason for you to hand over money to come and see me. There's no reason for you to do it. Again, I'm not the easiest comedian to listen to. I go deep. I do some pretty dark stuff. So if you're committed enough to come and see me, I like you already, man. You've already paid your money, but do not fuck with me on stage.
That's just your warning. That should be your next show. Yep. Do not fuck with me on stage.
I've actually already got my title for my next hour, which is weird. Apparently, you're not meant to do that. But
was it like is superstitious or something?
I don't know. There's all these weird sort of rules people make up. But this one is twice as good to get half as far. Yeah. So there's levels to it. But I've been ever since that last show on Friday night. I've just been churning stuff out. It's this weird sort of, I've gotten over the crest, I've gotten off. I know this hour is good. Hopefully I get better. I know, but it's a good solid show that I can roll with. So now I can start working on new stuff, maybe to add, maybe to put in the bank for the next show. But yeah, it's a good feeling.
How do you structure it in regards to like a show? Like if you have like the hour that you've got now and then you've got like a new hour, do you kind of move a couple of pieces that you that you know are really going to work, or will you go a full?
Not if you really want to push it. Like whereas this show has got maybe 3 bits out of an hour from the previous show.
Yeah.
That I had to keep only because, and no one really saw the one before in Perth.
Yeah.
And not many saw it in Melbourne. Sydney was great, so that's fine. I'll retire it from there. But there's a joke that I've got that's gone viral. It was about my wife being kicked in the head by a horse. And, that's huge, but it's kind of, I needed that for the narrative of the next show. And I never thought I'd be one of those guys that have a theme or a narrative, but it's because I got... my mentor is a guy named Brendan Burns, who's an absolute lunatic, but comedy legend. First Australian to ever win the Edinburgh Award, which is like, winning a Michelin star. It's huge. But he took me to Europe. I went and did Edinburgh with him in my second year of comedy. And I have a lot of very British inflections in my stand-up, which has been a bit of an advantage here. Because I find a lot of Australian comedians are just like, we're just larrikins and that sort of shit. Well, good on you. Great. You can stay here and work the suburbs. I have different aspirations, that's all. Do
you feel, because you've said many times before that the stuff that you can kind of get away with it a lot more over there, or you used to test a lot more over there than you could kind of get away with.
It's just different. So because the crowds are so much more multicultural, in Europe, believe it or not, especially in the UK, man, that's what blown me away, how much more multicultural the UK is than Australia. And to get over there, there's this thing, when they have mixed race groups, there's a very different laugh. When you got black and brown people in the same room, they when you talk about awkward stuff, they actually go, oh my God, we do that. Whereas here it's, oh my God, we do that.
Yeah.
It's very different. There's this big veil of guilt sitting over this country, and I'm looking to exploit it over the next year. That's the goal. Just a few of the things I wrote, one of my favorite ones so far, and I don't have it solved yet, but it just popped in, I don't know why. I'm not going to tell you that last one I wrote, but actually I probably will. But what was it? Australia's, I don't know where this idea is going to go, but it definitely kicked in since the election. The idea that Australia, we're not actually racist. And people go like, Australia's a racist country. No, we're not. We're classist. We are a classist country because we're too bloody rich. We don't bother being racist anymore. We just shit on poor people. They just happen to be black and brown in this country. That's the big difference. And I was like, this is something. And I've got to start working on this, because that's what I love about the British sort of humor. It's about the language. It's about the turning. You get people who lift up their eyes, and then you can just say stupid shit like "come" at the end, and it makes it a joke.
Yeah, so, they're learning about something in a sense, You give
them the illusion you're teaching them.
Yeah, and then at the end you kind of hit them with the side with like a fart joke or something like that.
It works. That's what John Oliver does. That's what all those shows do. I'm teaching you this, I've got authority, I'm and doodles. That sort of, it's a trick. I'm well aware it's a trick, but
you could totally walk out and just say doodles.
I was actually on the project just, whenever this goes there, I was on the project,
a while ago.
Just before my comedy festival run.
Yeah.
And they went through my Instagram before I went on air, and they were asking me, because I cut out flour, sugar, and milk, because I was about to get on. I knew I was going to be touring, and I was going to get photos and all that sort of stuff, so I was trying to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And they asked me, why were you cutting that out? Why are you trying to lose the weight? I said, because when people take photos of you when you're on stage and they shoot up, you get this thing called cockneck. And like that. And they were like, that's hilarious. You should totally say that. And I'm all ready to say it on live TV in Australia. And just before I go on air, they say, you can't say cockneck. And I didn't think of anything. I just edited it, and I just skipped the whole story. I didn't end up doing it. And then the minute I walked off air and the minute we stopped recording, I went, doodle throat. I could have said doodle throat. I didn't have to say cockneck. You hate that? And you hate it when you have an argument with someone, you think up of a comeback 2 days later. It's annoying.
Something I've wanted to know, haven't been able to talk to many.
Sure, Michael.
You're at the level where you're at now, but before that, in the early days, or even before you really thought about doing it yourself, did you actually go to a lot of comedy gigs?
That's interesting. I don't think I did. I watched a lot. But as far as going live, not really. The urge was always there, but from my growing up, the performing side of things was never encouraged. We got one actor in my family, and you got to understand, I'm coming from a massive family. There's a lot of us. We got one actor, and because the performance side of things, and that's another overlap of stuff that I talk about in my show is that you're familiar with the concept that Aboriginal people, shame job, don't be outlandish, don't be over the top. It's this cultural thing that we're told that we possess, but it's not. That's what stolen generation kids got taught in churches. Oh, don't be too loud, don't be too outlandish, or people aren't going to hire you to go be their housemaid and shit like that. And unfortunately, that was passed on down the line, and we all feel like, oh no, let's not put in any effort. And the minute we do, we find out, we're not bad at it. Some of us are really good entertainers. And sorry, that's a long way to answer your question, but as far as the urge to do it, only grew once I became a journalist. Because as a journalist, there was a lot of things I wanted to say, but you're supposed to be the vessel. You're not actually supposed to express yourself. You're supposed to take other people's voices and put it forward. And the whole time I'm doing it, it's like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but here's his opinion. And it was very frustrating. The amount of times I got asked, that guy that's actually got a criminal record, we should ask him what he thinks about child abuse. No. But I couldn't say that. I'd have to go do it. So that's where the seed came. But I mean, listening to stand up my whole life, Delirious, the Eddie Murphy video, it was rated R back in the day. And there's a lot of problematic language in that thing now. But when I was a kid, that was the greatest thing ever. And it's not aged well, but at the same time, you realize what he was doing back in the day. So stand up was always around. I'm definitely not the funniest one in my family. My cousins are hilarious, but it takes a certain something to want to get on stage and do it.
You could be funny, but at the same, there's a difference between funny and then being able to perform. That as a comedy actor as well.
I hope it's a healthy reason. I'm really worried that it's something psychosomatic. And, ego is huge. I was a very confident footballer and all sorts of stuff. And I was always kind of encouraged to back myself. But I actually think because I was bullied quite a lot. By older family members, my oldest brother, kids. I was bullied a lot, and so the urge to kind of go, I'm going to do this properly. That's where that comes from. The stubbornness, and that lends itself to my stand-up.
What made you decide to do the switch from the journalism, football, and all that?
I busted my knee playing one game of rugby league in Darwin.
Yep.
Because what a poxy game that is. Well, we're up in Darwin, and it's not footy season, so they play in the opposite seasons.
Yep.
So because of the wet and the dry, and so I played one game of rugby league. I did my ACL because in AFL I'm a decent sized lad. Rugby league, I ain't shit. So I tried to play one game of rugby league. I did my knee, and for two and a bit weeks, I'm up with my knee draining and coming down. And I watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David, the guy that created Seinfeld. I watched his TV show where, and this is how bored I was. I watched it with the commentary on. And Larry David said, if you think something and don't say it, it's probably hilarious. And so I just bought myself a little pad. And when I would interview people, I'd be interviewing them and it's like, you're a moron. I'd write this down. I can't say this. And then I just held on to it for a while. And once I moved back to Perth, it was just one of these things. I was like, I think I could do this. I don't know why. I had my Triple J radio training behind me. I had my TV SBS training behind me. I could speak. I can write. Maybe there's something fun in this because the journalism was getting me down, especially covering Indigenous issues. Every day was something fucking horrible. And just after nearly 7 years, oh my God, I just remembered a terrible story. I actually lied to my employers to go into the Raw final when I made the Raw National Final in 2016. I lied to my bosses and jumped on the plane and went to Melbourne with the hope that they wouldn't find out until I got back on Monday.
Did they find out?
Yeah, they found out. They found out that evening when I nothing had happened, right?
Yeah.
No stories had happened. I was thinking once it passed midday in WA because of the time difference, they're not going to miss me. I haven't filed. This is fine. I'm going to make it. I can go do the show on Saturday. I'll be back Monday. They're never going to know. Someone told somebody because by the time I landed in Melbourne, I did my little induction for the Melbourne Comedy Festival. Somebody rang me in the afternoon and goes, "Hey, how you doing? Where are you right now? And just as I was, the worst part, when I went to lie, a fucking tram came past. And the bells, because there's no trams in Perth. Of course they were going to know something was up. The timing was ridiculous. Like, no, I'm in Perth. Ding, ding, ding. What was that? Our trams. We don't have trams. Well, ridiculous. But yeah.
What was the what did you say to them? Like, what was the lie that?
Oh, by the time I petered out and gave up,
Yeah.
yeah, I just went, look, I'm here. I'm in Melbourne for the Raw National Final. Oh, should you be? I was like, I think I should. Dude, I had such a great job, but it was hard to keep doing it. So, I've got a friend now, and this is great. This is all going to be, by the time this goes to air, she's going to be all sorted. But basically, she lied to do a comedy tour. She's lying to her bosses now because she's about to open for another big comedian over East. And she came to me with that. She's like, oh, should I keep doing this? I'm going to get in trouble. I was like, if this is what you want to do, man, you got to do this shit. And it's not the best thing to teach people, but fuck. You know, you take this risk and have something great happen. You take this risk and get to open for Jim Jefferies at the Sydney Opera House. Or sit in that fucking room and stare at your screen and be miserable with everyone else. And I'm always going to say the opposite. I'm always going to say, yeah, do it. Especially because it's worked out for me every time I took a risk.
Yeah, you take that leap in it.
Man, I mean, again, I've jumped out of mining. You know, I had to quit my apprenticeship and I jumped into mining and I was dying there, shriveling up. Then I took a risk and moved to Sydney and worked for Triple J. That set me up journalism-wise. And then I took another move to, like, you've got to take a risk. If you're not willing to do that, I really do believe you get what you deserve. Or you reap what you sow, as they say.
It's good to hear you say that as well, because I notice a lot of the older generation, they're so against that. They want you to work that shit job, buy that shit house, get that shit car, and then that's just it.
It's a level of comfort, but you're right though. But it's set a lot of people up in this country for that comfy lifestyle. Yeah, and that's why we've had this election result. You don't want to. The concept of rocking the boat, man. These days, nobody wants to hear it. And, but you know, I have some very dear friends who do stand up, and they've never left Perth, and they're good. But you're not gonna if you don't leave, man. You've got to take those risks. And I can't take all the credit for being like this is a trailblazer, and I'm so daring. My wife's had my back the whole time. Like she's always pushed me to do that sort of stuff. But yeah, you reap what you sow, as Zach De La Roca said.
You need that. You need that push or that jump, or like as you're never going to.
I think you need that want as well. Like you got to want to do something better.
Yeah, it's not something that I can't remember who I was speaking to, whether it was on air or off air, but someone said it was kind of like you're not born with it, or sometimes you're born with it and sometimes it's just something that grows over time, but you really got to want to chase it. Like if you're sitting there going, I want to be the best comedian in the world, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, definitely you need that drive. But then there are some people that have, what breaks my heart though is seeing really talentless people given all the opportunities in the world. And that happens a lot in media, that happens a lot in just production and shit, man. It does. Those people with no abilities.
We know.
And you guys say, see, people take it personally. People think they're
we're laughing because within, like you said, within media and within production, like we fully understand what you're saying. We've had this discussion before.
Yeah, they're afforded every opportunity. And, I'm from a little town in the East Kimberley, man, and I took every chance I had. Not given to me, absolutely, but I took everyone because I know I had to. That hence the title of the next show. Yeah, there's no fallback plan for me. Yeah, I don't get to go work in my dad's company because my old man has been working his whole life and he will die broke. That's just the reality of coming from a poor background. But it's nice. I mean, when I think about the alternative, I wouldn't want to be one of these toothless fucking edgeless pieces of shit who just get to have holiday houses down south and like I don't want to be those people because they're not anyone I'm interested in, and that's that's cool. They will die blissfully, and they'll be happy, but they'll be pointless.
Do you believe that everyone obviously, like you said, obviously the opportunities growing up, or even that have happened over the years. Like, if you were handed, like, if you grew up in, say, Balcatta.
In a West Sydney, you know what?
Balcatta. No, why did you name the Woggest area around? It's nice, but it's Woggest.
But I'm saying, like, if you grew up in, say,
Balcatta, Macedonia Heights, you mean? What are you talking about?
You could have said Sorrento. Could have said Cottesloe.
Balcatta? That's your high reference point. Holy shit. All right.
It was the first place that came to mind, all right?
Yeah, aim high, why don't you, Louis? Aim high.
I didn't want to say... No.
Peppermint Grove.
No, but I've used Peppermint Grove. That's why I was trying to think of something different.
Hillary's.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you basically... You were born...
Sorry. That's so good.
Applecross.
Apple, yeah. If you were... Basically, you were born and you were born into one of those families, had a 6-story house, you had a massive boat out the front that was docked in front of your house, do you think you would be in the same position now? Or do you think that you would...
Well, this is the thing. There are comedians that have done very well and they come from wealthy backgrounds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a real... I mean, all I can say is that I know why I am the way I am now.
Yeah.
But
It shapes you to...
But as far as those other sort of possibilities or, I wouldn't have a clue. I know my edge in my attitude comes from everything that happened previously, even the shit stuff. So, I mean, this is only because I loved it so much. But the last thing I wrote before I left was basically, I know the Urban Dictionary has a phrase, but there's a lot of, and this comes from a lot of comedians in the time that I've started, but all I wrote was basic white boy. And there are so many basic white boys doing stand-up, and when they get on stage, I'm like, nobody wants to hear this shit. Nobody wants to hear how hard it is to manage your portfolio. No one gives a and it was... But my favourite part was I wrote down, because the most common thing is where the blokes backstage, they try to connect with me. So these guys do come from privileged backgrounds. Yeah. And they were like, oh, man, this is the time I was at a music festival and the police pulled me up and I had drugs on me. And I was drinking, I was driving, the police pulled me up. Basic white boys, what I love about the police stories, I'll save you the time, they all end the same. They let them go. That's how all of their police stories end, all right? And it's just things like that. I'm grateful that I am who I am because as far as the broad scale of things, I did pretty well.
Yeah.
From where I'm from, and this is a theme of other stuff. I know it's going to sound depressing for a comedian, but I come from an area where 13-year-old children are killing themselves. I come from all these areas where there are kids who honestly, I'm trying to get a tour going where I want to tour from Darwin to Esperance, and I want to go to all these remote communities and I want to talk to kids and show them, like you guys now, you've got some really good gear and you can produce a show because you've got this stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't need all this. You need 2 phones, maybe a tripod and a fucking Wi-Fi connection. You can actually edit on your phone.
Yeah.
Just going out to these remote places and teaching those kids, you got a voice, you want to try something, here, I'll show you how to do it. And then just leave them, give them some purpose. But you got kids with absolutely no options out there. And I was lucky. I was so lucky that my parents stayed together, that they both worked, that they put that they gave me those values. I've got siblings that don't have those values. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we came from the same household, and these poor kids that'll never get their chance. And then you've got these other fucking... Sorry, I was about to go deep, but yeah, just these other people who were born next to all these massive institutions, who were born rich and they don't realize how good they've got it. And they're the ones who get to produce content as artists. Yeah. And they've got nothing to say. And it frustrates, which is great because I'm clearly angry about it. And that's where you get your material. That's where this motivation, and when that election result came through, man, I was just firing. And it's great. There's too many people with no passion. Yeah. And I would rather, whatever I do, wherever I'm going to end up, whatever happens, at least I feel shit. I'm glad I have that. How do you feel when you meet somebody who goes, so, how's your day? What are you doing? Oh, nothing much. What a waste of a day. We're in the richest country in the world per person. Yeah. And you go to talk about how beige your life is. F*** you. And we've got, Yeah, I'm sick of it, man. I am. I'm clearly angry about it, but it's great.
But you can turn that into that. Then goes into your show, and
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I don't think I come across angry on stage. I don't think I do. I know I come across a little menacing to some people, but I'd like to think of those people as cowards.
With what you were saying about some of these people born in these better situations, I found with some of the people that I kind of started with, and then the people that I saw that I knew.
In production?
Yeah, well, just music and things in general. The ones that were actually from families with money and their parents kind of funded it, opposed to the people who had less money, but their parents just supported what they did. The people with less money that just got the support, not the funding, just the actual support from people around them, they have pushed and gone a lot further than the people who actually...
Look, you can't fault people for the situation they were born into.
Yeah.
You can't. But at the same time, though, you just need to... that's why I'm grateful for never having that safety net. I had to succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas other people don't. And, you can be resentful, but, I mean, I use it as fuel. I don't take it out on any individual.
Yeah.
Even though, again, some people take it personally, but I'm using such a broad brush.
Yeah.
But yeah.
if they are tainted, they're painted by that brush or something, then that reflects something in them, though. Like if you're on stage and you say a joke and it comes across as it is a racist joke, or
they're taking it personally.
Yeah, if they're going and they start freaking out, then that's reflecting them as a person. If they're
hence that we do that reaction. So people take out what they want to take out of it, and that's the beauty of my art. Like I know I have, and you would have seen the show. I have some bits that are heavy, and then some people are not going to enjoy them. But I love writing a joke that people can't find. I mean, everyone can find fault in it, but I think by the end, what I loved about this show is that even though I did some very hard topics and went deep on them, I feel like everyone was quite happy by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the art of it. Like you can get people who can literally, there are some American acts whose followings are just so in love with them as a person. They, like in America, so I just had a birthday, and everyone goes, wow, like, it makes no sense.
Know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, and
they could say anything, and it kind of,
and more power to them. Go enjoy yourself, do your thing. But I don't want that.
They can also charge like $300 a ticket as well. And
yeah, man. But I mean, that's the game. That's the game. I mean, Dave Chappelle is my inspiration. He's my hero. He's who I hate using the phrase, but I won't say he's who I want to be, but he's definitely who I aspire to, because he walked away from $50 million to keep his morals, man, and came back and made 60. That's gangster as f***. That is, I love it. I love that he went, no, you're making, and there's no comparison. Please don't ever put this on the internet and say this is me comparing myself to him. But my earliest memory when I made the state final for Raw Comedy, which is a big competition, I made the state final. I didn't make it to the national final my first year. I got asked why I didn't do Deadly Funny. Deadly Funny is the Indigenous comedy search, looking for Aboriginal people, and I just said, because I think I could win Raw. And the idea of, you couldn't make it here, go into this little pigeonhole that we've made and see how you go in there. That's like, and then next time I was asked, I was like, well, I'll tell you what, the minute there's a gay only, a Chinese only, an Indian only competition, then I'll do the Aboriginal only one.
But that's in a sense...
Basically, I'm Dave Chappelle, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but them saying that, just to open that up a little bit.
Sure.
Them saying, go and do this thing is a type of segregation in regards to like...
Not a type, it's segregation.
but I'm saying like if they had like an Asian one and that kind of thing as well, like they're not going to do that.
No.
So you're going, is this as well, is Raw here or Melbourne?
The final?
Okay,
it's a nationwide search, and the final is in Melbourne.
Okay. Is that where, or were you asked here?
I was asked here.
Okay.
When I made the state final. But it's a weird thing, because for so long, I guess the best analogy for it, and this is something else I wrote, but I never came back to it, but you imagine, right, just being you, just chilling, being happy in your world that you've occupied, the one that your previous family's occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just say you're just living your life, and tomorrow someone pulls you aside. Hey, you are the poorest person in this country right now. That's your life from now on. You'd be like, that's inconvenient. That's not going to work out. You'd have a moment, wouldn't you?
I'd say more than this is inconvenient.
Yeah. But then when you go to speak up, they're like, hey, don't cause trouble.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you being so noisy? Look, go over here. That's exactly what happened to a lot of Aboriginal people. And from that point on, to just be told that you're poor with no other reference point, and you're like, wait, hang on, I'm pretty confident I live here. So no, you're poor. You need to go over to this spot. And ever since then, there's been this attitude in Australia of we got to fix the black people. I was like, you're the ones that broke it. And so coming up with they don't know how to work, or they don't know how to do comedy. We need to come up with programs to help them learn. It's intrinsic to this country. It's such a part of the culture here. And then the minute you're an Aboriginal person who goes, this is bullshit, like, oh, trouble. This one's he's a bit uppity, this one. And it's so subtle. But the thing is, and I said it in my show, it's what I loved about touring Central Queensland. They don't hide it. They vote in people like Bob Catter, Pauline Hanson, Fraser Anning. They don't hide it.
Yeah.
But the ones I can't stand are the close talkers, like the ones in Melbourne. Okay, because they're like, oh, we're going to go do a rally for Sudanese refugees, and then they're whispering, but yeah, I'm not a fan. But you know what I mean. I like Africa, but not too many. Anyone that needs to lean in close to you to tell you their real opinion, they can all go fuck themselves. They're the problem.
Yeah.
They're the issue. And they are the people that run these programs, and they're also the people that benefit from it. There are a lot of people that get paid to make sure that Aboriginal people don't actually get qualifications but keep getting trained. It's and again, I know, I get it, I'm deep, I sound depressing, but I can be funny, I promise.
I found as well, when I did go to your show, there was things that like I learned, as you said, like there's kind of, you learn and there's a little bit of a punchline at the end. Just some of it is just straight, it's facts basically. But in a sense that like I learned stuff that I didn't even know. Like,
yeah, but at the same time though, why would you?
But we should though.
Cool. I agree.
But you know what I mean? Like like it shouldn't take me at 23 years of age go and see a comedian.
I get what you're getting
to find out.
No, I get what you're getting at.
To find out.
But it's not the child's fault. It's because the system didn't exist to teach her.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying you're a child, but we're the child when you could have learned.
Yeah.
And no, but this is what I mean. It's nice for you to say that, but I'm not stupid. I know why these systems exist, and as long as there is no racial harmony in this country, I will have a career. So
you kind of.
I don't want things to get better. Come on, that's silly.
It's kind of like how.
Yeah, like racism. We
keep it around. Keep it around. It's fun. It's
kind of like I think we were talking to Jackson Healy about it once. It's kind of like the media chooses what we get to know, and even with schools, how I think we spoke about it once. We're like, look at tax and interest rates and all these kind of things that we could benefit from knowing, or even like credit cards and repaying debts. They're choosing to withhold certain information that.
Well, see, now you just blame the media, right?
No, not the media. I'm saying they can. That's for news, but I'm saying in education. That's the education department in terms of.
No, I'm just saying. So now you're saying that outside influences are creating what we
it's
learn
someone
and stuff.
higher up
Right.
in each field who
There's a
controls
reason.
what we actually.
You're kind of on to something, but in just my humble opinion, there's a reason that all the poor countries produce a shitload of doctors.
Why is that?
Well, because we're too busy trying to learn how to make money. They're over in Africa and India. They're producing people that are going to give back to their community. That's not our priority.
Mm.
It isn't our priority, especially here.
Yeah, I've heard someone even from England say that dental, that's a Western country. This is a Western country, and then they say dental that's a huge business over there. Most of the stuff is like Medicare free.
Mm. Well, look, such a wealthy country, our priority is not the the benefit of our people. It's definitely how do we make the next lot.
Yeah,
and I don't know. But we've got it good. Hence why like things like Australian rappers are just ridiculous. Australian hip hop. Do you have any of those people on here? Don't. They're fucking awful. They're the worst kind of people.
We've had two.
Yeah, tell them to get fucked. They're the worst. It was so hard to get a camping space. Fuck off. I can't stand that shit. You know what?
I did.
Hip hop.
I just need to say, there's a reference that you talked about someone's song, someone's song, and
What, Set Century?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the song came on, and I could only think about you saying that joke the whole time that the song was playing.
Great.
Can you tell me the joke?
I'm trying to remember it.
In regards to bacon.
Oh no, that's so old. Oh my god, I can't really remember it. But like, my thing with Aussie hip hop is that it comes from. It was born of hip hop came from poor indigent people who didn't have instruments, so they used beat and they used slave songs and they used their story and they just flowed off each other and they used, it came from such a broken place to have somebody here from this country who rap about how bad it was to have their skateboard taken off them. It's just fucking insulting. It's I don't know. I know all art can be changed and moved and stuff, but Jesus Christ, we are the wealthiest country in the world per person. We don't get to use that art form. We don't. I mean, and then there's other people that do it, but Jesus, I don't know. It's really frustrating. It's disingenuous, and it's a betrayal just because of especially the message that I got out of it, and the message feels like it's lost with a lot of people.
Do you remember? You don't remember
it? Not right now. Not right now.
Okay. The long story short, it was basically that there's people out there rapping about getting soggy bacon.
Oh yeah. Yes. So now I do. That is an old bit.
Yeah.
But
and now every time I hear that song, that's all I can think of.
Yeah. I think I was referencing, Mos Def and all these people rapping about Malcolm X and all these massive, and dealing with the drug issue, guns issues, and then we got guys rapping about bacon. Yeah, that was their issue. That was the thing. You ever hate it when the cafe stuffs up your order? What sort of yuck! It was so infuriating, and that's what I mean. Like, that's what I love about. You can pick it hip hop. You can pick it up in comedy. Genuine anger. I just appreciate it. I mean, my favorite comedians right now are guys. I mean, there's levels to it. I mean, obviously Chappelle's up the top, but it just as Australian comedians, like you got guys like Luke Heggie. Okay, he doesn't do any political stuff, but he's angry as hell. And I love it because it just comes from such a pure place, and you're all a waste of his time. I love it. And then you got like my favorite comedian in Perth right now is a guy named Andrew Wolf. He's a lunatic, and he's just going through a personal breakdown right now. But he is the funniest person on stage at the moment.
Like a lunatic, like as in like
fury, just pure fury at the world. And if you don't get it, fuck you. And he's just magic, and I love it because he is like that on stage. The first thing I was ever taught by Brendan, again, my mentor, was that you spend the first 10 years of your career trying to be someone else and the rest of your career trying to be you. And I was lucky that I got into it in such an age where it's just me. It's always just been me on stage.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm still figuring that out. And the people that are on stage and it's them, they tend to be amazing. They tend to be the best.
Then when they're trying to put on...
Yeah, these people that, I've got to play a character. Yeah. And it also, that comes from a dark place. That's like those people that need to lean in close to tell you their real opinion. You can't. There's just a lack of trust. I don't appreciate it. I'm sure other people love it. Australian comedy is based more around acting and clowning and theatre sports and shit like that. And great, cool. What's possibly come out of the bag this time? Nothing. Mediocrity. That's what's going to come out.
I find that so. It's funny you say that, but it's 100% accurate. It's 100%. I see it all the time.
I'm
with
glad,
all
I'm glad
sorts
you're
of
feeling
things.
it because I'm worried I'm coming across a little bit too
No,
bitter, I'm just
people,
bored with it, man.
Like exactly like you said, they're more worried about getting that fucking pair of glasses or that fucking jacket than they are actually the actual craft itself. Like, just do it and do it good. Like, why do you give a shit about the jacket or
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But this is the thing, though. I'm never going to sell out 12,000 seats at the arena, which is why Jim Jefferies, for all his faults, that's why he's in a different stratosphere, because that's him on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he got lucky by leaving this country and went somewhere where for all their faults, man, the Americans, for all their faults, at least if you're legit, they will, they'll come and see you. Like if you go up there and you spill not the truth, but if you go out there and you're genuine, they'll come and find you, which is great. Whereas Australia, we've got so much baggage we're not willing to address.
Yeah.
So we would rather go watch someone pretend to be a dog for an hour on stage than actually listen to someone who's crafted something articulate and thoughtful. And that's only my opinion. It's not a fact, but it's how I feel. And that's why, I'm just trying to be me, and it's doing all right at the moment. So.
Do you personally think if you did go get those glasses, that jacket, spend that extra money on the logo or whatever, do you think that ultimately would have done anything? Or do you think that's just a load of wank, like you've pretty much said?
No, I mean, I've already sold my soul once when I worked in the mines. I don't want to. I don't want to do it again, especially now. I mean, this is everything. That's what's great about this. Everything that's come out of these little notepads that I've got, that's mine. I've made it. You can't take that off me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can have shitty bookers. You can have bad clubs. You can have all these issues outside. You can have TV execs that don't want to hear you or talk to you because you won't do coke with them, all that sort of shit. You can have those issues. But when you're on stage in front of 100, 200 people in a club and it's just you on the mic and they are laughing their ass off, no one can take that off you. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
That's the meritocracy part of it that I addressed in my shows. That, for all the bullshit that's going to go on, like if you want to get a TV show made, you gotta suck some dick. You've got to do it. And I'm not willing to do it yet. I'm sure my tune's going to change. I'm sure I'm going to get put in a position. But at the moment, I've stuck to my guns. I mean, that's why I got sacked from Tonightly. That's why I am lucky enough that I've gotten to open for one of the hardest, most truthful comics on the planet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with that until...
I wanted to touch on both of those things, but maybe we'll start with Tonightly first. You were on there for, was it a year?
One
or?
season. So
One
I
season.
was about 7, 8 months.
Yeah. And it just ended badly?
It didn't end badly. The whole thing was bad. Like from the start to the end. It's weird because I have some treasured friends from that show, like some legitimately talented, amazing people. But the decision makers, there is a stereotype or a perceived idea of what an Aboriginal person is meant to be, and I'm not that.
Yeah.
And I'm a journalist and a comedian, and I couldn't get stuff made on a news comedy show because how news is reported and how comedy is made is very convoluted in this country, and it's not. I don't know. Basically, I didn't fit the show.
Yeah.
And so when it was time to renew my contract, they decided not to. And at first I took it really personally, but at the same time I was like, why? I actually wasn't enjoying myself. That was isn't that weird? You snap and you're like, hang on. You mean I don't have to do this anymore? My ego, I took it badly at first, but now I have that written on my poster as sacked from Tonightly because that show did not reflect me. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't what I was told I was going to do.
Is it that label of like, we're hiring you because you're an Aboriginal man?
No.
But then you're not doing... but then you're not doing what...
I was told that it was a news comedy show.
Yeah.
And I was paranoid that I was being hired just because they needed an Aboriginal person. And but then at the same time, I'm like, it is a TV gig in news comedy, which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I got there and I was a little bit annoyed because I'd worked in that area before, and I'm like, I know what it's going to be. No, it's going to be different this time because Tom, who's a friend of mine, the host, convinced me.
Yeah.
Like I had knocked it back first. The first time I was offered, I was like, nah, probably not going to take it. I was in Estonia on Skype, which apparently Estonia made Skype, so it was really clear. And they
That was the weirdest.
I'm learning more stuff.
Yeah. They so I got offered the job. I said, not really keen. As soon as I hung up on Skype, Tom rings me on the other one. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You need to come and, take this job. And it went against every one of my natural instincts because I'd already moved to Sydney for Triple J before. And I knew what I was stepping into, and it wasn't fun. To me, trying to convince someone who's not funny what funny is shouldn't be the job. So I went from that job where I clashed every day with the ideologies and the concepts of what was funny and what was newsworthy and how an Aboriginal person working in that area should do it. And it ended badly. I ended up not being renewed and being asked to move on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to say I was difficult to work with, which is probably true. But I just couldn't pretend to be something they wanted me to be. And that would be my argument. If I came across in another way, then that I can't help. But that's where it all came from. Because to have someone who's not funny tell you, nah, this is what would be funny. You're like, no.
Yeah.
That's not fun. Like,
But
I'll
would
go do this on stage tonight. I'll show you it's not.
But that's their argument is you might have been hard to work with.
Possibly.
But at the same time, you're trying to convince that person.
Yeah. It's the thing with middle management, and I was just in a position where I couldn't play the game. And then to go from that working situation to be a producer on the Jim Jefferies show. So that's Comedy Central. That's Jim Jefferies is the boss, okay, and the host. And their morning meetings, man, is hilarious when actual funny, talented people are the ones making it was another universe. It was a completely different universe. I was in stitch and the shit that I'm so glad they don't record them because the shit they were saying was so funny. And I go, oh, this is how it's meant to be. That's the difference between a show that is on Comedy Central in Los Angeles and something that gets cut after 2 seasons.
Yeah.
In Australia. And at least after going from that to that, listening to those meetings, I'm going, no, maybe I was right.
Yeah.
That felt great. It didn't help my bank balance, but it felt good.
And then obviously the second part with obviously Jim Jefferies. How did that
come about?
Yeah, like
look, I can give you the long version, or I don't know how much space you got.
Whatever you want to do.
Apparently not much, but
no. We got this now, so we got time.
Look, the way, and I actually quite like telling this story because Chris Rock's got that story about the time he was stacking chairs, and Eddie Murphy asked him to jump up on stage, and then he became Chris Rock.
Yeah,
this isn't the same thing, but it's again, I'm not Chappelle, but I did a gig in Sydney. Now, for the Community Cup, which was a footy fundraiser, and a good friend of mine, Sean Choish, who's a local Perth comedian, asked me to jump up, and I get there, and people that have kind of heard of me but never met me before, and I promise this is the long version, but it's pretty cool, that it's a footy fundraiser. Mikey Robbins, who's been on Channel 10, done heaps of stuff, he's the MC.
Yeah.
And it's general feeling, it's Newtown in Sydney. It's quite a eclectic, multicultural, diverse crowd. Everyone's really sweet. It's coming from a good place. And the guy that gets up before me, so there's 3 acts before, they go, meh. And then the guy that gets up before me has a leather jacket, a leather Harley Davidson hat, and leather gloves, and a long beard and long woolly hair. Okay, and with the cap pushed down, he gets up on stage and does jokes about having sex with his underage girlfriend, and the room just goes dead. And it's just 5 minutes of awfulness. Okay, and he gets off stage, and then I get brought on. And the first thing I say, wow, I didn't realize I was going to be following the lead singer of Faith No More talking about children. And the room just went like, there are times you just take risks. And you're kind of like, they really didn't like that guy. Maybe I should shit on him. And I did. And I just slayed for 10 minutes in this room full of people. And my manager, Julie, was in the room at the time. And she thought I was the duck's nuts because I just took care of this horrible person. And a month after that, I was in Edinburgh. And Julie has a boss who's now my current manager, Andrew, and he's these guys. And he came and saw me in Edinburgh. He came and saw me perform once, and this is after being in the game for 3 years. I'd had a few companies come and talk to me. This is after Raw and all this, that shallow business, that show business shit. Oh, we should catch up, and then you never hear from them. That sort of stuff. Yeah, that shit.
We should go out for a drink.
Andrew was my manager is gruff as hell, terrifying dude. But he was the first one that came up to me and just goes, you know what? I think I want to sign you. He had no reason to. This is Jim Jefferies' manager. This is like he's got some big names, and he saw me once and goes, "Yeah, I heard you did well. I liked, and I also like what I saw. We should catch up." And he signed me, and that was awesome because there was no other bullshit around. I proved myself off my own back in front of him, and he signed me. And it was the most genuine thing that's happened since I started in comedy. Because again, there are so many fake that get around, and I appreciated that. And so we kind of bounced off each other really well. And then the Jeffries things came along because he was touring Australia. We were in the same management.
Yeah.
And my manager had enough faith in me to say, look, this guy will do well. And because Jim is a particular brand, a comedian, he thought that I could hang with him, which was great, which was very flattering. And for him to my manager basically to take a punt on me and say, you know what, I think you could play in the Opera House. And not that little room that some of you other comedians brag about, the big one. That's good. I just like setting people on fire on Instagram. They're like, oh my God, I'm playing the Opera House. I'm like, what, the little room or the big room? People don't know there's like 3 rooms. But
is that like the Regal?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I sold out the Regal, people. The small room. But still, I sold out the Regal. That's, man. And then that's how it came around. And it was just great to have someone have faith in me because at the same time, every time I've been not lucky, but very fortunate that every time I've needed to crush and impress the right people, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are some horror stories from some comedians where important gigs happen, but it's just a series of moments. And since I moved in, that's what I love about stand-up is that every time I've needed to, because I've put in the work, I've gotten what I deserve. And the minute I don't, then I probably didn't work hard enough for it.
Which is fair enough. That's how the universe works, I guess.
So, yeah. Were you going to ask me for this, or was I going to keep playing with it, or was this come at the end?
We'll come. We'll do it at the end. Yeah.
No worries.
I've got, I guess, one thing that I wanted to ask, which is talking about the whole people being acting and that. Is Jim how he is off, like behind, as he is as the person that you see on stage?
From what I've seen, man, as close as you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously he's not going to get. There's certain parts that obviously he's not going to be exactly the same, but it's not like.
You realise those are jokes, right, on stage?
Yeah, no, but we did a previous show before, and there was a comedian that was, I forget the name now, very full on air,
right?
But as soon as the mic is off, they're like, "Hey, like, how you going?" Like that kind of.
Well, then we'll say in the middle. Like, there's definitely a performance aspect to it.
Yeah. He's not going to Macca's and ordering how he speaks on stage.
You know what's weird, though? I don't find how he speaks on stage that weird anymore. I don't. I really genuinely don't. But
you have a conversation with him and you're talking all like calm and everything. And he's...
Yeah. No. But that's what works. Is that what I like about a lot of audiences? Maybe not all. Maybe not in particular places, but a lot of audiences can smell a fraud.
Yeah.
I think, unless they're, those ones that like to be lied to, the ones that are off to see musical theatre and shit like that, good on them. You want to go lose yourself, but there are people that are up for genuine comedy. And this is what I'm liking, is that there are people that hung around and saw me on my last Perth comedy show. They came from a previous person who couldn't be more different from me. Yeah. Stage-wise, message-wise, couldn't be more different, but hung around and really enjoyed it because they just the authenticity, but just I don't know, man. I'm not trying to pretend to be anything.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make you laugh, but I'm talking about what I want to talk about.
Yeah, being genuine is obviously going to get you. I think that's, as you said, people can smell a fraud in the sense that like most comedians that are themselves that have a genuine aspect to them.
But there's also that part that people want to watch someone they identify with.
Is it real? Real? Trying to think of something. But like when something is real or relatable, like real relates to real kind of thing. Like if you're talking about stuff that someone can relate to. Yeah, well, the relate. I mean, you nearly near a phrase I really like to use is game recognizes game, which is when I like when people are good at what they do.
gravitate towards other people because, like, you know, in every industry there's garbage and you've got to navigate that to get to hang around people that you appreciate their performance. But as far as being able to identify with it, the thing is, I come from such a weird background. Not weird, but I mean, I've got to try and make my experience broad. But I also find that explaining it in a way that people can comprehend that's what I love. That's my. Why would people from? Well, you know, I performed in the UK. I did 2 UK tours before I did a Melbourne one, or a Queensland tour, or a Perth Comedy Festival. I haven't even done Perth Fringe, but I've toured around the world. I've done Estonia for sakes.
Skype.
And yeah, I've done Estonia and Latvia and Finland, and done great because I was able to make it relatable. I don't know what, that's the art to it. You got to try and find what's the vein that other people are going to identify with.
Yeah, and that kind of...
Dude, in Helsinki, what was great was when I I didn't realize it was an issue, but there was an old lady who dropped her plastic bag. She was pushing basically everything she owned was on a bike, and she's pushing it through Helsinki, and she dropped the plastic bag, and I picked it up, put it on, gave it back to her, and the street stopped to stare at me, and I was like, what's going on? Because she was a gypsy. She was a gypsy, and apparently that's a bad thing in Helsinki. They steal stuff, all this sort of shit. It's like, oh, right. So you just don't think anyone should help her. Now I get it. And then I just tell that story and explain why that's ridiculous to me. And, and it gets laughed. Like, you've just got to find that vein. And that's what I love about it.
It kind of, it's that, I guess that's like a type of, I know a lot of comedians that will, and like singers do it as well, that they'll come to Perth and they'll say something, like they'll have someone quickly tell them something, a fact about
like a local reference point.
Yeah. But that's more of a, like, that is more, the whole gypsy thing is like, that's more of a relatable thing that actually happened. It's not them going, oh.
Well, I kind of used it to point out their behavior.
Yeah.
So, so you don't like gypsies. And then that was it. That was where we were away. Yeah. But I mean, the local references, the suburb gags. What I like about my Midland material is that I'm like, no, I'm not making fun of material. I'm not making fun of Midland.
Yeah.
I'm making fun of people that make fun of Midland because it's too easy. And you're basically, again, it's the classism. It's not because these people are worse. It's because they're poorer. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
You know, you have money. You're probably still a piece of shit, which is very much the case, I find.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you...
Yeah, this is something I'd love to know. Obviously, every field, every different person, probably people in your same field would have a different kind of way that they go about it. But what's your creative process and your workflow? Like, how do you normally...
I'm still figuring it out.
Yep.
But I do like that very basic rule that Larry David uses. If you think it and don't say it, it's probably hilarious. So write that down so you get that first impulse. Like, I should say that, but I'm not going to.
Yep.
That's great because that is generally what comedy is. It's you're saying things what people are thinking but they don't say. That's great. So I tend to jot that down.
Does that book go with you most places?
For most places, especially on
everywhere.
Especially on days like today when I was just on fire.
Yeah.
But the worst part though is that a lot of stuff comes to me in the shower or just before I go to sleep. So when I'm basically the most relaxed, and so water and darkness don't work well with a notepad. But yeah,
so you get like a board or something in your shower, just write on like.
Nah, whiteboards are no good because oh my god, I missed out on a massive gig because I wrote the wrong date. I had the right date at the bottom, wiped it off, put it at the top, put the wrong date when I wrote it back down. Oh, don't! It was the worst whiteboards. But no, as far as the notepad goes, yeah, that's it. So basically, you get an idea, write down a few bullet points. I don't write too much.
Yep.
But I'll write as much as I feel like is important, and then I'll leave it because then something organically will come through that. And it's very much a radio trick, is that you write how you speak.
Yep. Because
the minute you start trying to make it sound official, I used to use my radio voice when I started out in stand up, and it was so shiny and yuck.
What is your radio?
Oh, I wonder if I could do it now. Do it on. I'm not actually totally sure if I could do it over the air, but this is the ABC voice. This is the one that I was trained to use to read out the news. Yeah, it's a bit shinier. It's nothing, but this is me now. This is me hunched over and talking.
I feel like
Yeah.
when you said that, that's the kind of like you would be talking about like a really terrible thing that's happened.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
7 children were molested today, and so, yeah, it's like,
I don't know why.
They're just trying to make it.
yeah, but you've got to. They tell you talk through a smile, regardless of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a bit soul destroying, but it could be worse. Could be doing commercial radio. That's which is what? No, hey
We
man,
said something.
I got some.
I said commercial radio, didn't I? And he was just like, "Oh, commercial radio."
What do you mean?
When we went to 92.9.
Oh yeah, we
I said the words commercial radio, and then there was a bit of a commercial radio.
But you're not allowed to use that phrase.
No, I don't know. He made a bit of a joke about it when I said commercial radio.
The presenters, and there are some good people that do it, but they look. I couldn't imagine it. Like, that was great about working for the ABC and SBS and NITV. I didn't feel like I was under the control of some company.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was great. And that's what I love about stand-up. That's what's hard about corporate gigs. Because usually before you go on stage at corporate gigs, they're like, oh, here's a list of things you can't say. And for a comedian, it's like, you don't want these? These are the exact words you don't want me to say?
And then you do that exact what was it, cock?
Doodle throat as opposed to cockneck, yeah.
But it's that thing. Then you're going, oh shit, I can't say that. But if I said it like this, and then you just miss that,
And you edit yourself, yeah, absolutely.
and then that's not you. It's not a performance.
But you're getting paid to not be you. You're getting paid to tell jokes.
But
about
don't you think as well, like people in a sense, if they're booking you, they're booking you. They're not booking.
If they are doing that, if they are legit, but the thing is that for a corporate gig, they're very rarely booking you for you. They're booking you because they want an Indigenous comedian or they want something.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't. You wouldn't hire like a. It depends. I mean, come NAIDOC week, I'm sure there are people that are just going to be like, oh, we need an Aboriginal comedian, and they're not sure what they're going to get if they hire me. But I will take their money. I will take their money and I will play their game. But that's fun too. I see even stuff like this. Like you guys came and asked me to do a podcast, and I'd be perfectly honest, I'd never heard of it or seen it before. But everything's an experience. Like you take I'm in that point now where I'm very fortunate now that I'm not always looking for material, but I'm always looking for experiences. I need stuff to draw on. And if you ask, I had to go do a tour of central Queensland. And I was like, why would you do that? I was like, why wouldn't I? That sounds amazing. Like I get to go, you see some of these pubs I'm going to go see? I was just like, if you view everything like an experience you can enjoy and learn from, it's fun. What else is there to life?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
And the fact that you're getting those experiences and being paid at the same time.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, we've almost come to the end. Obviously, I was going to say we'll bring out your little present that you brought us.
Sure.
And obviously the story behind.
It was hard because I actually quite like to collect important things. I even have a packet of noodles, instant noodles from my second Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Where I was about to be, I had to leave my job. I used up all my leave. I had no money. I hadn't been paid, and I kept this packet of noodles, which I stole from. Well, I took it from my mate's cupboard, which he left, and I took the food because I didn't know when the next time I was going to get paid while I was in Europe.
Yeah.
And I kept that packet of noodles, and I never needed to use them. So now I keep them on my mantle at home as a reminder, like that was your lowest point.
Yeah.
You were thinking about giving up journalism, comedy, everything. You had nothing, and you were going to. If you ate those noodles, that was it. You failed. You were done. And I keep them there as a reminder. So I collect shit all the time. I've got my first pass from the Opera House, all sorts of stuff. But you guys did ask, and I kind of had the attitude of this one was like, I feel like I'm going to get the chance to do it again. So this is my Perth Comedy Festival artist pass.
Yeah.
From my first sold out run in Perth.
Oh, thank you.
No, my pleasure, and thank you for having us along.
Well, definitely. We have a lot of shit that hasn't been hung up because we have a wardrobe of stuff that we need to do, but this is easy.
Just remember, you asked me. I didn't want to bring it.
No.
I make it out like, oh no, I don't know if we'll find a place for it.
No,
I don't care.
No, I'm saying that for a podcast that's called the AAA podcast, as in the AAA
You don't
pass.
have a lot of passes.
We don't. So I'm saying the fact that I can literally get a hook and we can hang it up here, it'll be very, like we have condoms for God's sake. Like this is a, thank you.
Both are made of plastic. That's fine. Yeah. No, I appreciate the time, guys. It's been fun.
One's going to protect you a lot more than the other, though.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about what I love about you guys are doing a podcast is that there's not many free mediums left as far as freedom of expression. So you guys are, you're doing a good thing as long as you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, are you enjoying it, Joel?
For the most part.
Wait, your name is Joel?
It's not Sean. Well, look, thank you for coming on the show.
No, absolute pleasure, guys.
Thank you for taking the time. And this is I think it was a bit more drawn out. We've had a few scheduling things, but.
I thought you meant because I was talking so much.
No, in the sense that like, to try and get you in, but I'm glad that we got to sit down. And is there any shows coming up before? Because you have Fringe. Is Fringe?
Yeah, not till January 2019.
I thought that was ages away.
No. I've got a bunch of plans. Like there's a US run.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Sydney run in end of June.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Sydney run at the Comedy Store, but those rooms are always full anyway. You don't really need to promote those. But I am working on a documentary and a few other things. But basically, if people want to just come and check out my Facebook page and my Instagram page, I generally have everything I'm doing up on there, and my name's pretty straightforward. I don't one of these cryptic is just Craig QUARTERMAINE on Instagram or Facebook, and all that information is there. I do use Twitter if my internet's down. but otherwise, I just try to keep people updated as possible. But I'm still at that phase, man. I'm just grinding it out.
Yeah,
I don't have any big tours to announce, but Fringe is the goal. I would love to smash my hometown Fringe.
Yeah. Because
I may or may not be here. Can't say any more than that.
Okay. We're doing a whole Jim Jefferies.
Oh, a little less cocaine.
We're going to leave on that. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, Craig. Look, thank you for watching the AAA podcast, the show that gives you access to everything, music, nightlife, and everything in between. If you want to watch more videos, you can click up here. If you want to subscribe, click up here. Leave a comment, share. We'll link all of Craig's stuff down below, any tours or anything that are coming up. Other than that, thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining me, Joel. Darby, thank you for helping out, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the next video.
I love you, Darby. You're underappreciated. You can do better.